Hey everybody, Win Claybaugh here, and I am so grateful for today to have these kinds of opportunities. I just can't tell you what it means to me for many reasons. First of all, to know that I'm building great, meaningful relationships that truly have value, and the fact that I then get to turn around and share these wonderful people with all of you. I don't know about you guys, but it takes a lot to keep me on track. I need heroes. I need people who have stories to tell. And this man absolutely has a beautiful, incredible, empowering story to tell. I need those stories to keep myself on track. But again, the fact that he is donating his time, and I, for some reason, I want you guys to know that this beautiful man is donating his time to share his wisdom and his stories with all of you. How this is going to play out, just so you all know, is you'll notice in the Q&A, if you have any question and answers, I love the chat box, which we absolutely invite you to share your thoughts and send out your love to Alvin as we go through this. But if you have some questions that are specific to Alvin, check the Q&A box and put your questions in there. And after Alvin shares a wonderful message with all of you, I'm going to start reading some of those questions to Alvin for him to answer. And our entire time will be about 60 minutes with each other today. This wonderful man comes with a story. And I've said it before that I think that the best teachers and mentors are storytellers. And this man had a story that began the day that he was born. And that story is empowering. If you're looking at Alvin right now, some of you are thinking, wait a minute, what's going on? There's something wrong with my camera right now. He has no arms. You're right, he has no arms. So he has lived his whole life that way. There's his feet, and I've been to dinner where those with Alvin, and those feet are on the table cutting a beautiful piece of steak there. And I've seen him play the piano and drums and everything else. And there are millions and millions of hits to see his videos. So when we're done here, you're going to think, okay, who is this guy? And you're going to YouTube him. You're going to check out everything that he has put out, because there are millions of hits watching what he puts out there. But the fact that we get Alvin to ourselves right now, you guys, let's give it up for the amazing, amazing Alvin Law. Alvin, you're a beautiful man. Thank you so much for being a part of this today.
Hey, Win, love you, brother, and it's nice of you to invite me. I know many of you may not know who I am, and I have a very distinct plan today. I don't want to go diving deep into the entire history of my life. That will come up, but I want all of you to know that this is absolutely for you. This is my honor. In fact, I am so proud to be part of what I call the Paul Mitchell family. Oh God, I didn't get a chance Friday night to hear Kathy Buckley. I wish I would have done that. You know, can I just tell this story if you don't mind, folks, before we get into this? Here's how I met Kathy Buckley. I was in Denver Airport many, many years ago. It was a snowstorm. It was really a bad day. The flights were canceled, delayed. It was one of those nights that I just couldn't believe how frustrating it was. It was packed. There was no place to sit. And I do use my feet. So I used the floor to work on, in this case, my iPad. And I had my briefcase sitting on the seat next to me. I have no idea why I did that, because I never do that. I, in fact, usually put it on the floor. But my briefcase was next to me. And before you know it, this woman comes up. She's tall. She's right in my face. She wasn't being disrespectful that I could tell, but this were the first words I heard out of Kathy Buckley's mouth. And I'm not going to use the actual word. Is your effing briefcase comfortable? I looked up at this woman and I went, who are you? I didn't say that. I'm just looking at her. And then she says, let me sit down. So I moved the briefcase, put it on the floor. She sat next to me. And I swear to God, she said, you realize that you have no effing arms, right? This was how I met Kathy Buckley. Some of you may be shocked that someone like that would talk to someone like me that way. But I think Kathy is one of my most remarkable friends who has a great sense of intuition. I think she knew, as she did, rightfully so, that I had a sense of humor. And we have been dear friends ever since. Had I not met Kathy Buckley, I would not have met Win, and I would not have met all of these wonderful people. I'm just going to say this. I'm not getting paid, that's clear, but I want to say it in the very colloquial terms. I never get paid to sing or toe the company line. You are very fortunate, folks, to be part of the Paul Mitchell School family. It is true. You are going to be future professionals. But I got to tell you, it is that kind of relationship that to me is the key to all of this. In fact, here's a good one. Do you believe in the expression, first impressions are everything? I understand why that's important, but I actually don't believe in it because no one has ever got a first impression of me correct. Understand? People look at me and they just don't go, hey, dude, you got no arms. That's awesome. No, people look at me like, oh my God, OMG, WTF. I mean, it's just so true. But the fact of the matter is, I get that. I stick out, and I therefore am memorable. I live every day of my life with the idea that if I'm going to be remembered, what do I want to be remembered for? Do I want to be remembered for a negative first impression of, oh my God, that's terrible? Or do I want people to walk away not only remembering me as a positive influence or inspiration in their life for that moment in time, but a reflection of how we see ourselves? Wynn was talking a little bit about this video. In fact, I'm very proud of it. You should go check it out when we're offline here at alvinlaw.com. They had a video that they did for me from a company called Goalcast, and it has 39+ million views on Facebook alone. And the headline is, what's your label? So I want to ask you that question right now. What is the label that you affix to your life? And I don't mean that in necessarily a completely negative way, but how do you describe yourself? Are you using the terminology that promotes a positive self-image? Or do you apologize? Here, let me pick one out that's really current. Adele recently lost 100 pounds. You read about that? And she's getting shamed for losing 100 pounds by people that think she sold out to be skinny and beautiful. You know, I got to be honest with you guys. I've said this on stage at Caper. I've talked about this in groups that I've been to, visited your schools. There's an incredible irony to my speaking to you today. I have no arms and I have no hair. What the hell were you guys thinking, putting me in front of a bunch of brutal professionals who do hair and nails and facials, all that stuff? And in fact, even more importantly, I do not believe the outer exterior of who we are defines who we are. But I'm biased because I was born this way. I don't think you can see my label. All you see is a bald head. My label was thalidomide. Thalidomide, big word. It was a drug that was given to pregnant women in the early 1960s to combat morning sickness. And it affected over 20,000 babies who lived, but were born with deformed bodies. So gimpy arms or legs, missing fingers, even all the way up to missing arms and legs. My arms never grew. Let's let that sink in. The most common human reaction to that is, that's so sad. Okay, I'm not going to argue, except it's not. Let's go to the next piece of the story. At day 5, I was homeless. These are facts. This is not reality television, which, in case many of you didn't know, is fake. All of it. Anyway, the fact of the matter is, 5 days into my life, I became homeless, not because my family died, and not because my family were homeless people. I was actually born in a very small town in Canada called Yorkton, Saskatchewan. It's a farming community. And the farming family that gave birth to me already had 2 small children. This was too much. But this was also 1960. We did not value the lives of people like me in 1960. In fact, even in 2020, I think people are often uncomfortable with someone like me. And I love that Wynn said we've had dinner together. Can you imagine that? These really are, folks, my hands. I even wear a watch on my ankle. Look, this isn't a fashion statement, okay? If I want to scratch my nose, if I want to think, if I want to point. Here's a really good one. If I want to reach across the table and hold my wife Darlene's hand. She's not in the picture right now. She's in her office in our home in Calgary, Alberta. We worked together. We met in 1991. I get that the exterior matters. The first time I saw her, I was going to say it, I couldn't believe how stunningly beautiful she was. I heard her first. I heard the noise coming down the hallway to a hospitality room at a conference I was speaking at. She's got this laugh that lights up the soundboard. It really does. And she's got this smile that could make you blinded by her teeth, and they're not whitened. It's just who she is. And she's got this loving face. and these sparkling eyes. I fell instantaneously for this woman. In fact, she came up to me because she was the conference co-chair and said, "Hi, I'm Darlene. You're Alvin, right? You're staring." I said, "I'm not staring." She goes, "Yeah, and you're drooling too." I wasn't drooling. Okay, maybe a little bit. So look, I get the idea of how our outsides can be beautiful and attractive. So why'd she marry me? I don't think it was the biceps. Can you feel my energy? It's one of the things I miss not being in a live audience, is connecting with you on a human level. Because that's really what this is about, isn't it? In fact, let me suggest this to you. There is a human in your chair. Not a hairdo, not a face job, not a nail job, a human being. And here's the irony. So many of them, I'm generalizing, may be insecure in their looks. They want you to work a miracle, make them look beautiful. And in your brain, let's be honest about this, you're looking at them going, "You're not beautiful." That's not the point, is it? We're not here to judge. We're here to be a professional. Oh, by the way, one more thing about Darlene. She started running my business in 1991, and we have been working together ever since. And it is really quite phenomenal. And even Darlene would admit this. This is quite the story. You know who was amazing, though? Not me. My mom, Hilda Law, was amazing. See, when I was given up for adoption, I was put into the Canadian foster care system, and I was sent to live in a foster home. Boy, this is uncomfortable. I'm thinking some of you have been in foster care and probably may not have had a good experience. I hear that. Look, I want to tell you this. I'm going to be really blunt. We've all got a story. Some of our stories are so sad, so tragic, so much part of being a victim. I get that. But can I tell you this? The key to who I've become? I've never looked for blame. And while we're on the topic, I think it's very important you understand a lot of people that were affected by thalidomide did not have or do not have this positive nature. I understand that. Not everybody is going to be accepting of their own selves. But I worked at this, except it really wasn't hard work. This is the life I grew up in. When I came to live with Hilda and Jack Law, their home was one of not only love, but acceptance. But here's the key. This wasn't easy. Okay, I want to ask you a question. I want you to picture in your mind, and close your eyes if it helps, your first visual image of you. You know what I mean? Like a picture, not a selfie, not on your device. In fact, they didn't have them when I was a kid, but you know what I mean? An image in your head. Here's mine. I'm going to back up my chair a little bit. I'm in the basement of our home in Yorkton, Saskatchewan, sewing buttons on rags with a needle and thread that my mom gave me when I was 3 years old. 3 years old. She even made me thread the needle, for God's sake. Sew the buttons on a rag, she said. She was a seamstress. So it kept me busy. Took a while to sew 25 buttons on a rag. And when I was done, she'd say, "Cut them off and do it again." My dad was a mechanic. He'd bring home nuts and bolts from work, and I would screw them on and off and on and off and on and off for days using my toes. Why? So someday I could be a motivational speaker and go out and dazzle people? No. Mom and Dad knew this was going to be hard. And here is a biggie, folks. Ready? You will fail. And that's okay. See, we've got a lot of labels in our society. We've got a lot of stigmas. One of them is that it's impossible to understand one way to live. I get that. So that's why I'm just offering my suggestions. If they fit, great. If they don't, cool. But one thing that I think is undebatable is failure is the foundational element of success. We must fail because then we learn what not to do again, right? I mean, duh. I failed at everything, and that made it part of my being. But here's another thing. Attitude became a habit. You know, this thing, hey, I get paid and tell lots of stories when I travel the world saying it's better to have a positive attitude than a negative one. I mean, duh, everybody knows that. How's that going right now? Pretty hard, isn't it? Let's be blunt. It has been a challenge to be locked in, to face some other issues that we normally would not even think about, right? Especially if you have kids. That's pretty tough, isn't it? But just think about what you're doing right now on this call, watching this webcast. Good for you. I know it's not a normal time, but I want to ask you another question. What is normal. Think about it. I am completely normal. These are my hands. This is what I look like. But more than anything, I have learned a very valuable thing, and that is, oh man, we've all got a gift. We've all got a gift if we just look for it and find it. But more than anything, what story are you writing right now? Is it a positive story? Is it a negative story? Is it a complicated story? You know, one more thing about mom and dad. I learned to be accountable for my behavior. I learned to be accountable in my home. Are you doing that? I'm guessing you are. You're in Paul Mitchell's system. You are being accountable. You're saying, it's on me. I want to do this right. And it was, oh God, here's the other thing I remember. Do you remember your childhood? I had chores. God, I hated chores. I had to do chores. I had to make my bed every day before school. I had to clean up my room every night before bed. I had to vacuum the carpet using my foot 3 times a week because mother loved neatness. I had to mow the lawn, folks, with my chest. Shovel snow with my chest. Take out the garbage in my teeth. That was nice. I remember the first time my mom said, go do the dishes. What? Yeah, your brothers had to do it at church. And how am I supposed to do that? Mom always had the same answer. I don't know. You're the one without arms. You figure it out. Did you ever look at your parents when you were a kid and go, you don't really love me, do you? Does that expression enter into your Paul Mitchell experience? Pretty high expectations, huh? Pretty much out there telling you, you got to do this. You got to be the best. And that's not easy sometimes, but you will, because you have it inside of you. Let me tell you a little story. Not about mom and dad anymore. About 15 years ago, I was starting to get very successful in the corporate market. Up until then, I'd spoken to over 1.5 million students in schools across North America since 1981. I wanted to branch out and be a big shot. I'm not going to lie. Our egos can act in funny ways. Our egos can be damaging, but we need confidence to carry us through to the dreams that we all have. And I got busy and I got successful. And I was traveling and I was traveling and I was never home and I was complaining. It's so funny right now because I would say, I just want to be home. Be careful what you wish for, huh? Yeah, I hear that expression. But the fact of the matter is, I was at the end of a literally 6-city, 5-day road trip speaking to clients in the United States. It ended on a Friday, not because I wanted it to end on a Friday, but I got stuck in a snowstorm. There's that theme again with Kathy, huh? This time in Chicago. And this was not the Kathy story. This was in Chicago, and my flight was canceled. I was trying to fly home to Calgary, and I was upset. I was tired. I was grouchy. I was frustrated. You know what I'm talking about here, don't you? Our mental health can be affected by things that we do not want to be living through. And that's right now. Isn't it tough? Our mental health, challenging? I hear you. I remember phoning my wife at home to say, look, I'm not going to get home tonight. And I can't find my suitcase. And I don't have anywhere to sleep. And I don't know what I'm going to do. And I was actually being foul. I was using a couple of cuss words. I can't lie. And my wife hung up on me. So I phoned back. She said, when you can learn to talk civil to me, we'll have a conversation. And I was trying to play the poor me game because I was stuck in Chicago. And you know what she said to me? This was the first time I ever heard this expression. I mean it. She said, honey, it is what it is. I mean, we've gotten sick of that, haven't we? Or have we? I don't know. It is what it is. I was born without arms. It is what it is. I was given up for adoption. It is what it is. I grew up with stares and funny looks and people being inappropriate with their behavior towards me. It is what it is. And I'm not trying to make it simple. But the fact is, when she said those words, I literally said, what is that supposed to mean? She said this, I can't believe how patronizing this felt at the time. She says, are you inside? I went, yes. Are you outside in the snowstorm? No, you told me. You asked me where I am. I'm inside. Okay, so you're safe. Yes. Are you hurt? No. Are you hungry? No, I had supper earlier. Are you going to get home? Yeah, but not tonight. It is what it is. And then she said, look around you. Watch all of the other canceled clients not being able to fly home tonight either. How are they behaving? And then she said, and how are they treating the people behind the counter at United Airlines? Boy, that was magical. I watched. And by the time I got to the front of the line, which was like a 2-hour wait, the first thing I said to the lady behind the counter is, having a tough one, huh? I hear you. Boy, sometimes life sucks, doesn't it? And she saw that I had no arms, and her expression changed. And she says, sorry, do you need some help? I said, no, I'm fine. Actually, I just want to know when I'm going to get home to Calgary. It totally changed my composure. It totally changed the energy that I was giving. I respected this woman for having a terrible job that night. By the end of this story, or to make a long story short, as my wife would say, too late, not only did I get booked on first class the next morning, but then I even got a hotel room at the Hilton across the road from the United Terminal. Even though they were full, this gal behind the counter made a call because I said, do you know anybody at the hotel that could help me? And she phoned the hotel and talked to a lady and said, you got to meet this guy. He's made my night. Everyone else is making me feel terrible. He made me feel better. My God, I went across the hallway or the road to the Hilton, checked in there, gave some of my magic to the lady behind the counter. They were lovely. Got to my room. It was after midnight. Knock on the door. Look in the keyhole. There's a guy there with a tray and a bottle of wine and some glasses and some cheese and crackers and a note from the manager. Thanks for being a nice guy, unlike everybody else tonight. Do you realize the power you have to make someone's day? The power you have to change someone's life? Look, you might be thinking right now, hey man, I had a tough one. Nobody helped me in my life. Okay, let's acknowledge that. And then let's try this one more time. You may be starting at zero, but you are alive, and you have a heartbeat, and you have a soul, and you have a mind that can, boy, transform anything. Have you heard this one? Oh, I'm kind of stupid. Hear people say that? Yeah, I hear that. That is self-talk. What do you say to yourself? How do you talk to yourself? I know this sounds like a bit of pop psychology, but the reality is, in my home growing up, it wasn't just about chores. It was, Alvin, you are going to live your life. And what you get out of it is from what you give to it. Are you a giver or a taker? It's just a question. Right now, are you giving, even though you're stuck perhaps? We can still give, but it doesn't mean giving money. It doesn't mean giving resources. Maybe we can give something else. In other words, this is a time frame for us to really reevaluate what we're made out of. And by the way, if you're feeling a little bit like you're not going to make it through, I understand that. But, I just want to tell you this. I grew up with an expression, there's no such word as can't. That's a cliche, isn't it? Hey, do you ever wonder why they call them cliches? Because they are. They're cliches. They are cliches because they work. I've used so many of them in my lifetime. But more than anything, what really changed me was this next example. Now, you got to remember, I was kind of doing okay with my life. And it's a really funny story. You might have heard this. I drive a car, and it's not special. It doesn't have hand controls. I mean, duh. I steer with my right foot on the wheel, my left foot on the gas. All I need is automatic transmission. I can drive any car. I even rent cars. Last time I was in California for my tour of the Paul Mitchell schools, not only did I rent a car, but I rented an SUV so I could haul around my equipment. You see, it's back there. I've got a piano and a drum. I may or may not get to them today, but if you want to see how I do that, you can, again, go to alvinlaw.com. But this is my set that I use. And by the way, that's a real Emmy back there. Yeah. Oh, and by the way, that is a sketching of me when I got inducted into the Canadian Disability Hall of Fame 2 years ago. That's pretty cool. People say that's pretty egotistical. Yeah, no, it's not. It's not an egotistical setup. It's not a shrine. I call it my wall of gratitude. My favorite one over in the corner there under Alvin Law is a Variety Gold Heart Award from Variety Club. Since 1976, I've helped raise over $225 million for charity. Now, I know you're going to be messed up not being able to do caper. I know Wynn can help us in understanding when that may come, but it's part of that is the fundraising component, right? I get it. Some of you kind of go, hey man, I don't want to raise money. I need money myself. I hear that. Do you understand it's an energy exchange? Do you understand? And I believe this. The more positive energy and gratitude you give out, I promise you it will come back. But it's not like going to an automated teller and punching in the code and getting cash out of the machine. It's not how this works. Sometimes it takes a long time to get your return. But you must be authentic. That's what I'm so proud of. I'm just Alvin, right? Authentic. I'm me. But here's one more that I think is really very important. Oh, this was a tough one, man. I'm so envious of people and their stuff. Do you ever get like that? Oh my God, I love stuff. Someone once said money can't buy happiness. That's not true. Although I've met a lot of really wealthy individuals that were some of the most miserable people I've ever met in my life. And that's a whole other story. But let me tell you what happened when I came to Calgary. Moved from a small town in Saskatchewan to a big city called Calgary. It's a beautiful city, over 1 million people. We're right on the edge of the Rocky Mountains. And I happen to live in a very affluent neighborhood. Am I affluent? Nope. I snuck in. They weren't looking. I got past the gate. No, there's no gate. Actually, I bought this house with my wife in 2000 because a couple were getting divorced, and it was a good deal before house prices went crazy. So I am definitely living way beyond my means. This is beautiful. The point is, this is a wealthy neighborhood. So on one of the first weekends we're here, a guy pulls up next to me in my dream car, an Aston Martin Vanquish. Oh my God. You know, like the James Bond new movies with Daniel Craig? That kind of Aston Martin. He had the sunroof open. He was revving the engine. He was playing tunes, even wearing the shirt with a little pony on the boob. I'm thinking, oh my God, is this guy ever constructed? And then I said this under my breath. Sorry for the bad word. I hope the bastard hits a tree and dies. That's what I said. And Darlene looks at me, she goes, what did you just say? I said, I don't have to repeat it. She goes, I heard it. I'm not asking if I heard it. Why did you say that? I said, well, look at the car he's driving. She says, you should be happy for him. That's all I could do. You gotta be crazy. Why would I be happy for someone else's success? That doesn't make any sense. Well, the Buddhists call it sympathetic joy, celebrating someone else's victory. Now, I don't think this crosses over into the world of sports necessarily, but is there anything better than a good sport? Someone who loses and says it's okay? Someone who shakes hand at the end of a competition? You're in a competitive world, folks. And I have seen so many of your competition, world-class hairdressers, stylists, people in your business that compete for the big dollars. But at the end of the day, I've seen it. There is nothing more special than being with your peers, huh? Being with the only people on the planet that truly understand what you do and who you are. I know it's going to be hard not to do caper, but it will come back. I promise you, I think it will. But the point is, we can't sit there going, oh, I wish it wasn't here because I feel sorry for myself. Just try to be happy for everybody out there that is experiencing the same thing. Try empathizing. Sympathy, not a great idea. But I want to tell you one more story, and then we'll get into the questions and answers, okay? And for this, I am going to move my chair a little bit because I want you to see something. This is one of my favorite stories, okay? I'm just going to step back here. The audio will go down a little bit, but I want to show you something. This is an Alvin Law signature story, and I want to show it to you because it's very important. I think a lot of times what we're capable of doing and our activities define who we are. So, for example, a lot of people are athletic. I am not athletic, although I am not unfit. You should feel my gut. I do like 1,000 crunches a day just being Alvin, right? The fact of the matter is I was never athletic. I was artistic. You like that? Oh, and by the way, here's one more. Let me go back over here for a second. Do you ever feel like you just don't fit? That enters into your life? That's a tricky one, isn't it? I wanted to fit. So I tried everything. And then one day I found a piano. Here's the first song I ever played on the piano. All right, you can clap. I'm kidding, you don't have to clap. That is, of course, Chopsticks. And when I played that song for the first time, it was not in our home. It was in the basement of a friend's home where my mom and dad were playing cards. They loved to play the game bridge. And I was downstairs farting around, and I found a piano in the corner. We were at a very wealthy person's home, I might add. They had everything. Oh, there was a ping pong table and a pinball machine and all this stuff. But they had a piano, and I went over and I played that silly song. And my mom heard me play. And she came racing down to the basement. Was that you? I gave the standard 10-year-old answer. Do you see anybody else down here? And then she made me play it again. And then my mom started to cry. They were good tears. And then she got a little carried away. She took me on the Yorkton Elderly Women's Tea Party circuit. I was playing for grandmas. That is the easiest audience on the planet, by the way. And if I may add one more thing to this, you're going to be working with lots of older people, lots of older women, lots of ladies who have lost their luster, and they just want to be young again. They want to look good again. They're losing their hair. They might have to wear a wig. You know what I'm talking about. I'm not saying image doesn't matter. I'm just saying you have to honor these people for what they've been through too. That's where sympathetic joy comes in. These ladies that I played for, they loved me. They would give me milk and cookies for chopsticks, give me grandma hugs and grandma kisses. It was wonderful. Like I said before, you can make somebody's day because of what you're learning to do. And that's, who gets to do that? Who out there gets to do that? Oh my gosh, you're lucky. You may not feel like it right now, but that's the point. We don't always feel lucky. I played the piano for a lady one day. I didn't know her. Did my little concert waiting for milk and cookies, but instead she said, show me your foot. I love my feet. I told you, these are my hands. She says, I need to see those toes. Show me those toes. And I went, why are you asking me this weird question? Oh, she says, your mom didn't tell you. I'm a piano teacher, and she wants me to give you lessons. I got so excited. And then she looked at me and said, but just look at those toes. Look how short they are. You will never play the piano. In fact, Alvin, you will never play music. And I got to tell you, that was hard to hear, because she was a professional. Look, I'm just going to be blunt. You're going to hear that from some of your instructors. They're not trying to be mean. They just want you to be the best professional you can be. That's what this is about. Sometimes it's really frustrating, huh? Also, sometimes, how can we not take it personal? But the fact of the matter is, my life changed because a band director in Yorkton, Saskatchewan, when I was 11 years old, 1 year almost to the date of when the lady told me I'd never play music, put a trombone on the side of a wooden chair that I played with my foot. And I got to be in the band. And I got to be a musician. And I got to prove that lady wrong. That was bonus. But more than anything, I got to take pride in me. At the end of the day, that's what this is about, isn't it, folks? Pride in you, no matter what the circumstance, no matter how big your challenge is. I know that sounds so patronizing. But the fact of the matter is, pride does not come from what we see in a mirror. It comes from character. And character does not come out of an automated teller. It's not delivered by Amazon. You don't get to go to the local store and get it online. Character comes with lots and lots of things: failure, depression, anxiety. We learn to be strong people from the inside out. But more than anything, here's the deal. Believe it or not, folks, I'm almost 60 years old, and I'm not looking for compliments. I'm feeling older than I've ever felt in my entire life, obviously. But I'm not done. We're never done. Do you realize my mom was 55 years old and my father was 53 years old when they took me home as a newborn? Can you believe that? 55 and 53. So yesterday was Mother's Day. I lost my mom in 1996. I lost my dad in 2001. Darlene's parents, my wife, her parents are both gone. But more than anything, I think we need to understand that nobody gets the perfect life. But we can live with perfect intention. And at the end of the day, to me, that is the key to everything. What kind of intention are you putting out to the universe? So one last thing, then I'm going to take questions. Okay, Win, you almost ready? My wife Darlene is also a feng shui master. And if you don't know what feng shui is, look it up, FENGSHUI. It gets made fun of a lot. It's about energy. And it's very, very old. It's almost 6,000 years old. The study that started in Asia, China, Japan, that rim where they were trying to make their tight living quarters less tight and confined. And they figured out ways to balance the energy. what is part and key of feng shui is decluttering. Now, I'm not trying to sound like a smart guy here because Darlene's the smart person in this house, but decluttering is a great thing. And right now is a perfect time to get rid of some weight. Start in your closet. Do you realize that most people wear 10% or 10% of their clothing 90% of the time? 10% of their clothing 90% of the time. You know what it's like. Of course, I know it now. Some of you are thinking, well, all I have is black clothes. I hear that. But the point is this. How many things are in your wardrobe right now that you don't even wear anymore? Why not take them to a homeless shelter? Take them to a place where women are looking to be their own future professionals, or where men are looking for a step up with a nice suit. In other words, when we start to declutter our world, we declutter our brain and we free it up to what is so liberating. You need to understand. It is liberating to be able to understand how powerful this is. So before I bring Win in, let me go back to the piano for just one more second here, because it wouldn't be right if we finished off without the end of the story. See, that lady wasn't wrong. I've got very short toes, see, still. But at the end of the day, sometimes all we need is another opinion, huh? Okay, you know, we're not here for a concert. We're here to learn. By the way, the name of that song, I love this. I made it up in 1978. It's called The Ode to the Old Bag Who Said My Toes Were Too Short. Gotta love that, don't you? Oh, and by the way, if you did not notice, we started this conversation a while back with a simple idea. Have a sense of humor. Lighten up. Try not to let this get to you right now, because this is a challenging time we're going through. And more than anything, you are not alone. I know it feels like it, but you have a whole family behind you. It's labeled with the Paul Mitchell logo, but these are some of the finest people I've ever met in my entire life. Kathy Buckley, I mean, my God, the list could go on. I am so blessed, and I'm not overly religious. I've been given so many gifts in my life, so this is not a cursed life. This is a blessed life. And if we can learn to see all our lives like that, we would live them differently. It's as simple as that. Okay,
Wow.
Win.
Alvin, you're amazing. I just cannot thank you. I've heard you several times, including everybody, a guest appearance that Alvin made at my daughter's elementary school in front of 600 of her little classmates, which was just, and their teachers and parents. And it was monumental. So Alvin, I just can't thank you enough for being a part of our Paul Mitchell School culture and family. I am amazed that somebody without hair could all of a sudden understand who we are so quickly. But you know, you and I, we sport the same sexy look, so that's good, right?
And you are a sexy man, my brother. I think, you know, and I don't know how much you tell people about your personal life, but Sophia, I mean, in our house, we don't have a child anymore. My son is 34 now. We do have a 4-year-old dog, and he may very well be the most spoiled dog on planet Earth, but we don't call him spoiled. We call him loved.
Oh my gosh, that's great. Well, lots of things came up in the chat room, and a couple of questions, and so I'm so fortunate to be able to facilitate this time with you, because I think this is a time that people want to throw their pity parties, and I'm sure back then when you were having to take out the garbage or mow the lawn or wash dishes or take on the challenge of proving somebody wrong by learning how to play the piano, there's lots of pity parties back then, and I'm sure they still exist today. Can you talk about that, and how much, what does it take for you to overcome that? You talk about your wall of gratitude. That's not your wall of bragging. That's your wall of gratitude. What does it take to this day for you to not throw a pity party? Because you can't travel right now. How you make money is jumping on a plane. And so that's changed. I'm sure there's pity parties that you want to throw. So talk about that.
Well, and when I really appreciate you being truthful and honest about this, because no amount of positive attitude and gratitude can make the rent, can buy our groceries. I know you hit the nail on the head, man. Over here in this house, You know, I can joke about it saying, you know, Darlene's getting tired of me talking in the kitchen and not giving me any money. But the reality is, it is easy to feel sorry for yourself. And I got to be honest with you, Win, this is a key element to my life. Was I feeling sorry for myself as a young person? Yeah, there was 18 months. And that was it. I swear to God, I've looked at it over and over and over again. And it coincided with a typical adolescent growth phase, right? So about 14 to just about 16 years old. Why? Well, because people started dating, right? And by the way, I'm heterosexual, but I am so open-minded. I'm a big supporter of the LGBTQ movement, whatever they're calling it these days. I got to be honest, Win, I hope you don't mind, but I tell stories of you and George and the love that you have, and that you're one of the best families I've ever seen. And if anybody out there is homophobic, they should slap themselves in the head, because that's just unacceptable behavior. But that's important, because I was starting to recognize my sexuality at 14, 15 years old. I wanted to date. And I'm not putting on this on the gals, but I did. They wouldn't hold my foot. They didn't want to be intimate. I was immature. I felt sorry for myself. And was it connected to having no arms? I guess. But I think it's universal. We all go through the pity parties. I went through the second big pity party when I got involved in a relationship that produced a child. In fact, let me just say this, Win. I'm not being clever or cryptic or smart-assed. I think the two most life-altering words in human language, no matter what the language is, I'm pregnant, right? It changes our world. And isn't it amazing, when you can relate to this? Some people find their children to be an inconvenient mistake. I'm not judging. And then there's people who live to have a family, live to have a child. That's what I grew up with, brother. I mean, I was so bloody lucky. I lived in a home that loved me. So it was very rare to feel sorry for me. But when I became a dad, that freaked me out, because I didn't think I was going to be a dad very well. Don't you need arms to be a dad? But here's the honest truth, Win, and I hope you don't mind me being blunt. I'm a survivor of a terrible marriage. You know, when the Me Too came out, me too. Me too. My ex-wife tried to kill me with a butcher knife 3 times, Win. She never got away with it, and I left the marriage. I hate to be a downer, but we've all kind of had these things happen to us where we look in a mirror and go, what was I thinking? Boy, I looked in a mirror and got a good look and said, I'm never gonna lower my bar to be in a relationship again. And that's how I met Darlene. And my son, by the way, escaped that life too, just so you know. He was actually taken from his mother because she was just a terrible person. I'm not trying to be mean about this, but she had her own mental health challenges. So when my son came to live with me, that was really hard. And the third pity party was when my mom died. There's no question I went into a serious depression. So yes, none of us are bulletproof, brother, but all of us need to get ourselves out of bed and treat ourselves better. You know, you've got the best expression ever, brother. I love your expression. I actually wrote it down. Bitter to better, or bitter or better. Is that the one you use?
Yeah.
Yeah. These words matter, man.
And they really matter now with what we're all going through. Not that people won't be watching this 3-5 years from now when we're not quarantined, but absolutely those words really, really matter now. You know, people, they see you and they see that you have no arms. And so it's easy for people to maybe want to give you a break. You know, okay, well, we're not going to expect much from Alvin because he doesn't have any arms. So if Alvin is having a depressed day, that's okay. But then I have all of my limbs. I have my faculties. So I think we want to beat ourselves up more because we expect more from ourselves because we don't have the same limitations or proposed limitations that somebody like you has. What's your answer to that? Because there's people watching this right now that I have all of my limbs and yet I still can't get out of bed.
So here's the key answer to that question, Win, is there is no doubt this has been hard. Let me give your audience, whenever I think of this one, I start to giggle in my head because I'm trying to picture it in my head, watching this happen at home. When this call is done, go to the bathroom and don't use your hands.
Oh boy.
All of you. I mean it. Go to the bathroom and don't use your hands. Now you're thinking, oh, that's crazy, man. Why would I bother trying that? How do you think I do it? Does Darlene help me go to the bathroom? No, I travel all the time by myself. Have I always been able to? No. Okay, here's another one. Now that we're being candid. My mother had to wipe my ass till I was 16 years old. That was part of that pity party we talked about, right? And I was in high school and I couldn't figure it out. I couldn't figure it out. And then it just got so embarrassing that I figured it just came to me in a dream. Use the power and the flexibility of yoga poses. And then I can get my foot to where the cleaning area is without being too graphic. And I learned how to wipe my ass. But the fact was I still couldn't do the pants. Now you can't see I'm wearing shorts right now. I love wearing shorts all the time. I love shorts. It's like wearing a t-shirt with no sleeves, right? And I couldn't dress myself. These have elastic waistbands. Not then, 1976. I couldn't put on jeans or corduroy pants or any pants. My mom tried to get me into polyester ladies pants, but boy, that was no fun. And I'm in this reality zone of, okay, now I can wipe my ass, but my mom still needs to come to school and take me to the bathroom. Every day at 16 years old. Can you imagine that? So I'm in the cafeteria with my friend Doug one day, and Doug comes out with his own honest question. Dude, what does your mom do when she comes to school every day? I said, what do you mean? He goes, everyone knows, man. Everyone knows your mom comes to school. And is it right she takes you to the bathroom? You know about that? Yeah, man. Everybody knows. Oh my God. That was so powerful. A hit on my self-esteem. And then he says, what does she do? I said, all she does is undo my pants. I go into the bathroom, do my thing. I come out and she does them up. That's all. Yeah. She comes all the way from home to take you to the bathroom, undo your pants, you go in, do your thing, come out, and she does them back up. Yeah, that's stupid. I said, well, who else is going to help me? When the guy looks at me and he says, I'll do it. Can you imagine in 1976 with all the homophobia that was around then? Guy taking me to the bathroom stall with him helping me in there. And I said, Doug, why would you do this, man? You're going to get made fun of. You know what his answer was? I play trumpet in the band. It can't get any worse than that. So
Wow.
How do you want to feel about yourself? There's always someone who's got less, brother. There's always someone who's living a harder life. But this is not a competition, right? This is not about who's had the lousiest life wins, because there's no trophy for that. This is just about putting that in perspective. And I'm going to be blunt one more time, man. Sometimes we do feel sorry for ourselves to the point of where we just can't climb out of the hole. And I think we need to tell people today, you can always ask for help. You can always ask for help.
I like that story, not because it's a story of overcoming your own pity party, that there is somebody who always somebody who has less than we have. But I like the story that if everybody else was making fun of you, there was one person who was willing to help you. And it's amazing how much we focus on all the naysayers. We want to prove everybody wrong. All those haters out there, some of them we've never met before, but they posted something ugly on our Instagram page. And we're so focused on them rather than focusing on the people who really love us and believe in us.
You know, I got the perfect, man, that's a great line. I often say to myself, the best filter, human filter that was given to Alvin Law was having no arms. Because if people want to be friends with me, they have to get over that. And if they don't want to get over it because they're too vain or they're too uncomfortable or they're too full of themselves, excellent. I got better things to do with my day than worrying about who I'm hanging out with, right? In fact, to be quite blunt about this too, I think that's the problem, is we have these images that we watch. You and I have made fun of this before, and I don't mean to be disrespectful. But I think to myself, who watches the show with the Kardashians and uses them as role models? Really? Come on, you can do better than that.
Yeah. Okay, so some of the questions that have come up here, and I already know the answer to this question because I love you and you shared this with me. What do you feel is your greatest accomplishment?
That's a really good question, pardon me. I think, boy, that's a tough answer. There's so many. I would think that music, no question about it, as a physical accomplishment, you know, playing the piano, as you saw, playing the trombone, which people can't see. And by the way, when I wanted to do this, let's save 30 seconds at the very end for the big finish with the snare drum, right?
Of course, of course.
Okay, I'll tell you what this is. When I think about my life, there was a moment in time that happened to me in 2016 that was just staggering for me. I always wanted to be a rock star, okay? Who doesn't? I wanted to be a rock star. In 2016, and I would encourage people, as we've said before, to go to my website and look at the videos, but make sure you look at the video of me playing the drums in the all-handicapped Paralympic commercial for the 2000.
My favorite. It's my favorites. And by the way, that was at Abbey Studio, right?
We recorded the soundtrack at Abbey Road in London.
Where the Beatles record.
Hey, I'm sitting behind a drum kit with headphones on that the drummer for Pink Floyd, his name escapes me right now, used to record Dark Side of the Moon, for God's sake. That's going back. And I'm playing my drum kit, laying down the track, and the music stops for a second that I'm playing along to in my head. And the guy in the studio, very British, says, "Gotta tell you, we've seen a lot of things in this building. We've seen a lot of drummers. And brother, Ringo would be jealous," he says.
Wow.
Okay, on a personal note, I just got goosebumps on my own neck. It took me 56 years, Win, to have a dream come true. And I want people to understand that your accomplishments aren't measured in the number. They're measured in appreciating every single one of them.
Wow. Wow, that video is incredible. So everybody, it's the Paralympics game from Rio.
Yeah.
And it's
Channel
the
4
video is
England.
called Yes You Can, or Yes I Can.
Yes I Can.
Yes,
it's
I
actually
Can.
The Sammy Davis song. And by the way, that's a great book for anybody, especially Black folks. The Sammy Davis book, his biography, Yes I Can. Read that. Talk about breaking through in a time when there was so much prejudice and racism. And I know it still exists. But let me just add real quickly. I know we're running out of time here, Win. You hit it on the head. How many people, probably not watching this right now because that's not the kind of people you have, but are so busy trying to blame the world for every bad thing that's happened to them that they're not doing anything for themselves to pull themselves up. That's the part that scares me. And I was never allowed to do that. That's why I say I was so lucky. But guess what, Win? I'm lucky to have Darlene. You know, mom and dad aren't around anymore. You think Darlene feels sorry for me because I'm stuck at home without a paycheck? I wish.
You know, let me ask you a question. So you're how old now? You're 59?
It'll be 60 in July, yeah?
Okay, yeah, so you're just behind me
a
little bit. So at this stage of your life, if you could go back, or starting today, moving forward, if you could take some magical pill that all of a sudden gave you full functioning arms, would you take that pill?
No, sir. I don't even have to think about that answer, okay? I was born without arms. It wasn't a mistake. It wasn't an aberration. In fact, ready audience, this was how I was meant to be. My wife, Darlene, is one of those weird people, you know, who believes in afterlife and before life and on life and all those things. I am too. You know what? This was not me living a curse from a past life. In fact, real quick, I was in Singapore touring a Hindu temple when an ancient Hindu priest approached me wanting to bless me. And I said, "Sir, I'm not Hindu." He goes, "It doesn't matter." You know what he actually said? He was in his 90s, long beard. I hate the stereotype, but it was an Indian accent. He literally said, "My temple, my rules." And I kneeled in front of him. He put his hand on my head, and I've never felt the love of God more than I did in that moment. Wow. And I've had my battles with God, okay? Because we can go through that phase where God is not kind, or we're trying to figure out whose religion is best. And in fact, some people don't have any religion at all. Well, I got to tell you, I'm not overly religious, but I feel so blessed because I think that's the way I've lived my life.
Wow, that's incredible. You know, we have time for one more question, and then of course we have to do the big old finale here.
We will, and I'm going to start sliding my chair to get ready. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's like, you know, you go see your favorite band. If they don't play your favorite song, you're pissed off. I'd be pissed off if you didn't play the drums and the piano.
All right, so let's have the question.
You know, before we do that, just to, you know, is there a daily ritual that you have, something that you go through on a daily basis to keep you on track, to keep you in sync with the man that you are, the man that is someone who inspires others, as well as a beautiful home life. Because again, this is the Alvin. I've never had a conversation with you where you didn't bring up Darlene's name 20 times. Meaning this isn't, you know, just for show. Your relationship, meaning your success at home, is more important than your success on the stage. And so what's your daily ritual to maintain all of that?
Well, that's really nice of you to ask that question. Two things. First of all, and this is not meant to sound perfect, because none of us are perfect, but turning over in the morning and waking up and looking at that beautiful woman I married in 1993 is a big part of what starts my day. But when I'm away, she's not there. And we don't spend a lot of time online. But here is, you mentioned this in one of your calls when you were on doing your show, Win. How we start our day is everything. So I don't turn on the news. I don't look at my device. I don't check the internet. I'm not addicted to this thing. See, here's the other thing. People get addicted to these things. They think they can't live without them. Yes, you can. By the way, that's Murphy the dog on the picture there. You can live without these, because I live without them all the time. I can't carry it in my back pocket. I can't walk around with it in my hand. Guess what? That way I'm paying attention. But here's the one thing that I would recommend to your audience. I got a plaque given to me way back in 1981. It's about the size of a postcard, about this big. And it's laminated. And it's got the words, "I'm not afraid of tomorrow, for I've seen yesterday, and I love today." That was back in 81, before I got all weird. And I have it in a hanging, okay, sorry for the graphic nature. When I sit down to have my morning constitutional in the washroom, I see that plaque. It's the first thing I look at. And it's the way my day starts. And by the way, it's the last thing I see before I go to bed at night. We need these things. When we need signs on our walls, posters. Why do you think there's so much sayings put up on the walls of the Paul Mitchell schools? Not because we're stupid, but because we need to be reminded of how much words matter and how much our feelings matter, but more than anything, how much our lives matter. So on that note, Win, let me turn on my snare here and remind people that hidden inside each and every one of us is an amazing gift. And this is one of the ones I was given. So let's finish off with this. There you go, buddy.
Oh my gosh. Alvin, you still got it. Even being quarantined way up there in that third world country of Canada, you still got it, my friend.
Well, one last thing, if I may add. We started this conversation an hour ago with me talking about impressions. The first impression doesn't matter when. It's the one that we leave behind. Our reputation, our character, and the difference we make. And folks, you are going to be future professionals. So go out there and make a difference. Because yes, you can.
Hey, everybody, just know that this is recorded. You can share this and watch it over and over again. Share it with some loved ones and family members. Also, I was fortunate enough a couple of years ago to do a master's podcast with Alvin. I invite you to go back and listen to that. You can find that on Plugged In, or you can find it on winclaybaugh.com under Master's Podcasts. But just get your fill of Alvin, because you better believe he's going to keep us all on track. Alvin, you're a beautiful, beautiful man, and I appreciate you so much.
Love you, brother. Give that beautiful daughter a hug and say hi to George. Give him a hug and a kiss. And we'll be back in the schools, kids. It's going to happen. Just have faith.
I love you, Alvin.
Love you too.
Love you, everybody.
Bye, guys. Hey, brother.